What's up everyone, Jonas here for Thomann synthesizers, and in today's video I would like to dive into the topic about how I keep my tracks interesting. So these are just a couple ideas I enjoy doing lately. Of course there's much more to discover, so I guess we all know the feeling about being stuck on a track and sometimes you don't know how to come from one to the other section, but these are a couple ideas I like to use lately on my tracks. So let's start with perhaps the most fundamental one, the track structure. And of course this is not quite easy in different genres, especially when you do techno. Then of course you have, let's say, a perfect loop and you keep it alive for several minutes. But my approach, it's always kind of similar, let's say. It doesn't matter if I write more experimental tracks or more club tracks. I always try to create different parts and try to connect it in a way that makes it most sense, let's say. And by this I try to keep it interesting, as I just introduce some elements for some parts and then take them away again and introduce them again. If we have a look, this is a more, let's say, experimental alternative hip-hop, whatever tune. And here I'm working with locators. By this I'm creating a certain structure, try to have it like as structured as possible, to know what I can introduce afterwards, a specific section. So let's have a listen, and this part is the more, let's say, pre-chorus part, which is like leading into the main section. And I try to have this main structure and I'm taking away things but introducing different layers so that I have like a variation in between those sections to keep it interesting. Let's have a look at a different project, which is mainly for the club, so it's a club track. And in this case, I'm working with two different bass lines and different sections. I can't refuse it. Next to you. I can't believe you. And of course, a classic and fundamental to keep things interesting is modulation. So let's dive into it. And I'm going to use Wavetable to create a pad. And originally this pad is taken from a track of mine. And the, let's say, specialty about this pad is that we only have one chord, but I want to make this chord as lively as possible with modulation. Let's have a listen. So this is the plain chord, and most of the times I'm using a sine wave or maybe a triangle wave to modulate things. But in this case I think it's really interesting because I've used actually the stepped LFO. If we go to the LFO section here, and the trick here is to use a rate for the LFO which is not synced to the clock or BPM of the track. So more or less have something freely running. And as we are using the stepped LFO, you get something, let's say, unpredictable, really organically evolving over time. Let's connect it to the oscillator position, to the frequency of the filter, to a little bit of unison right here, and to the amp itself. And if you now use some drums, let's say, and you see we don't have something really synced, more or less like vibey, floaty, kind of maybe deep house inspired, floaty, summer feeling. So let's check it out in my tune. One thing I really enjoy doing lately are send and return facts for sound design. And in general, I think that send and return channels are really helpful to just process certain things or certain elements within specific stems or groups, so you don't have to work on the complete, let's say, main elements. You just can send something out and then process it again, which is really, I think, on the one side beneficial for mixdown and arrangements, but also on the other hand, really a nice tool to be creative with your own material. So here I've created the send and return channel, and I've used the Pro Q to just use the higher and mid frequencies of the bass, because I want to process the bass a little bit more. So you can create unexpected things and unexpected moments within your track. So in my track I've used Infiltrator and played around with different macro settings. But of course you can also use whatever you like, delays, reverbs, and I think Infiltrator is a really good tool for this one. Another VST I like to use for this is called Glitch, which is, I think, actually really old, but I think it does a really nice job with unexpected things. Next up, I would like to showcase master effects I like to use to do transitions. And I know this is a quite complicated topic, and I'm not speaking about having, I don't know, saturation or distortion or compression. I'm more speaking about something like sound design, because as mentioned, I like to write tracks with different parts, and to connect those parts, I like to throw in just a bunch of weird effects on my master to modulate or to affect everything in the track. Play around with the dry wax signal to have it going into the different section of my track. So of course you can use, I don't know, Infiltrator or a flanger or phaser or whatever comes to your mind and feels right. I'm most of the times actually using basic effects, because as I'm affecting a lot of stems in my track, there's a lot of going on, and I don't want to make it too weird or too crazy. I just want to have like this tiny sweet spot, let's say, to just keep it interesting. And for this one I'm sometimes using the bit crusher, which is really nice on pads and drums, whatever. One thing which is really important to me to keep things interesting is the choice of sample, but sometimes you just have a sample and you don't know what to do with it, so let's find out how to create variations. The first method is for samples that are more synthesizer based, and for example have this one. There's one way, and it's called Synplant, which I like to use. You can create different variations of the sample. So let's drag it into it. And now we can second method I like to use is for drum one-shots only. It's not working for loops. Sadly, it would be amazing, but it's kind of AI generated, and you can load in a sample and it's creating different versions of this one shot. So this is our snare I would like to, let's say, replicate or develop. The page is called Deep Sampler, and you can drag your samples in and it's creating different versions pretty easy. And I loaded in the snare, and then you can choose the amount of variations you want to create. So 100% would be, of course, like completely different, but I want to have results that are pretty close, and I just can throw it in to have some variations inside my tracks. I already generated alternative versions. So it's pretty close to the original actually. Alright, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts or questions, then please share it in the comment section and I will get back to you. So thanks for watching and until next time.